Welcome, everyone. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we have a mission to wake the world up to what's possible, one brave word at a time. And here today to help me with that mission are some of the most amazing authors of a new book that we have coming out. This is Shaman Heart, Sacred Rebel, and this is the second book in that series from our lead authors, Stephanie Urbina Jones and Jeremy Pajer. So before I introduce these beautiful women to you, I would like to say a huge thank you to Stephanie and Jeremy for stepping up to lead this project and really lead this Shaman Heart revolution that they're leading, getting us down to Teo, to do these projects, to be together in healing and love and support together. These projects are other level because of you both. We love you so much. We would not be here without you. Thank you so much for your mission and your passion. And I'm sure the authors are like, what else can we say about these two, right? They're amazing individuals. So just wanted to kind of start off that way, you guys. But who else do I have in my Zoom room today? Krista Boutros is the owner of Egyptian Gypsy Gems. Oh, I like saying that. Egyptian Gypsy Gems. That's a cool, for a poet, that's kind of fun, Krista. And she is a medical spa manager plus full-time laser technician with 10 years of expertise. I have Sonia Glad with me. She has over 30 years of experience as a mental health therapist. She loves supporting her clients as they heal, experience personal growth, and manifest their dreams. And Susan Evans is a relentless searcher for her higher self, a soon-to-be retired social worker, trainer, and facilitator of trauma-informed practice for the child welfare field. Oh my goodness. Welcome, ladies. Let's talk about Sacred Rebel. Krista, tell us about your amazing chapter.
Well, it's an Egyptian girl raised in an American world, and I talk about her childhood trauma and her innocence getting taken away from her and how she healed from that, and all the work that she's done and the medicine that she shares to help other people who went through the same journey.
You know, you're one of the authors who touched on some pretty sensitive topics, and I know that was hard to write about. Can you talk about, was that the first time you had written about those things and how that was for you?
It was, and I felt called to really just let it out for not only myself, for so many women out there who feel shamed or guilt for those experiences, unfortunately.
Some people who write about these trauma topics have a little bit of regret after. They might be afraid about who is going to read it or what people will think. But I know you have something to say to them about that.
Yeah, I won't lie. It was scary and terrifying, but it was so exhilarating afterwards to feel that it was off my chest and to know that it is not your fault that that happened to you. It is not. And to not hold that accountable for yourself and to know that there's many other people out there that have been through the same thing and to share your words to help them heal from it.
Thank you, Krista, for being here today.
You're welcome.
Sonia, tell us about your amazing chapter.
Well, I have been practicing manifestation for quite a few years, and I really wanted to amp it up and go, well, what's the next level beyond manifestation? And it was a challenge for me to come up with concrete words for a very unconcrete concept of how to step into trust that there's something out there greater than I am, that has this plan for me that is greater than I could ever imagine, and how smoothly life can run when you're in the flow of that greater power. that's beyond anything that I could have even imagined.
Well, you did it beautifully, and I love the topic, and I love taking on the challenge myself, and I love it when other people take on the challenge to describe what you're trying to describe. I actually think you took it to another level. People think certain things about manifestation. They think it means this or that. But you know, it's challenging to put into words. What do you think the most important thing is about the topic that you want people to know?
Well, I have worked with several people recently on manifestation, and I see they get exactly what they asked for. And thinking of one person in particular, when she got what she wanted, which was a job, she wasn't happy with the job. She was happy with the income, but not with the day in, day out. It trapped her almost, because now she had this income that but she wasn't happy. And so then she has worked on letting go of what she thought she wanted, and has become open to what the universe has in store for her that's beyond her imagination. And I see that happening with her, and it's such a gift for me to be on the ride with her.
You talk about being in the flow. What does that
Mhm.
mean to what does it mean to you?
That means daily checking in with myself uh, as to what is in my best interest for that day, more so than maybe more future focused.
I like that a lot. Of course, present moment is the only moment, and it's the moment you're manifesting in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I love it. All right, stay tuned, you guys. More from Sonia in just a minute. Sonia, thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Susan, you ready to talk about your amazing chapter? Let's unmute you. Can you do it?
There we go. Okay. Yes, it was technology is not my friend this morning. And I'm not used to doing this on my phone, so it's a much smaller screen. Yeah.
No worries. Tell us about your amazing chapter.
So my chapter really, I had no idea what I was going to write about. Even we were in Teo, I just was sitting there going, oh my goodness, I have no clue. I loved the idea of sacred rebel, and I had to really sit with what that meant to me. So my chapter ended up being about two pivotal moments in my life, one when I was 7 and one when I was just about to turn 13, where decisions I made that made me feel, one of them was very bold, like, yeah, I'm going to do this. And there was a fallout from it, or a perceived fallout from it, that I thought that my behavior had caused this massive break in my family and had caused actually my parents' divorce, when it really hadn't. But in my 7-year-old mind, that was what had happened based on my behavior, my choice to kind of antagonize my sister. And then fast forward to a few years later, where I was innocently doing something that I got a lot of pleasure out of, which had to do with the Bruce Springsteen album and listening to it, which was forbidden because of the turntable it was played on. And I got caught. And in that moment, I decided to just really step into my power in a different way. And I took action. And so, and there was some little fallout after that, but I had borrowed so much trouble over some of my decisions in life. And I would create these scenarios that were just ridiculous. I was borrowing trouble all the time and causing so much more anxiety in myself. And in my second little tale, I took action and really gained some power, that I realized that regrets are not to be avoided or to be looked at as no regrets. It really morphed into this whole, no, regrets are really important, because they become a fulcrum for you in your decision making of where you're going to go next when something doesn't feel good, and you know that you may have some agency in something. But it also helps you to realize when you don't have agency, there are certain things you really cannot control. And so it really, the chapter kind of crescendoed into my ability to look back at my work in 33 plus years of social work, most of that in frontline child protection situations, where when there was a crisis with a family or with a child, I would ask them questions to help kind of to funnel down what was at the root of what they were most concerned about. And then we could say, this is what we have agency in, and this is what we don't. And so that's where my medicine kind of came from my stories, to help funnel down those things and to get to the heart of what you're really most concerned about, rather than borrowing lots of trouble and causing a lot of unnecessary anxiety and chaos in your own mental monkey mind. So
I like the term borrowing trouble. I don't know that I had heard that before. And I also love how you talk about regrets being okay. Like, it's not about not having any, it's about what you do with when you feel one, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Susan, thank you for being here today. Let's talk about what Susan was hinting about in terms of even the title of our book, Sacred Rebel. Sonia, I'm going to have you answer this one first. What does it mean to you to be a sacred rebel?
Well, I had a really tough time wrapping my mind around what it was. I just know that I am one. But I think it's about rebelling against maybe what the norm or expectation is of me as a white female. I mean, here I am traveling alone in Philippines and Indonesia. And I can't tell you how many times people have asked me, are you traveling by yourself? And I'm like, yes. And I'm like, oh, I think this means that I'm going against the norm, which fits right in with me being a sacred rebel. And I think the sacredness comes in because I am following my intuition. I'm open to the lessons that are presented to me, and my goal is to learn from them.
Oh, I heard what you said just now in terms of like part of being a sacred rebel is you follow your intuition. I think I heard extra words that I wanted to tag on to that. You follow your intuition no matter what everyone else says.
Yeah.
And like for me, that's the rebel part. What else do you want to say about that?
Well, there's definitely, like, right now I am having the time of my life. Last week I was having the worst time of my life. And just a wonderful reminder to me about the balance that happens, that the lessons can be challenging, and then make all the sweeter. Like, this week feels so much better because last week was not so good. Yeah, I'm not sure if I've answered your question or not, but that's just what's come to me.
I like what you're saying about the balance. I mean, we wouldn't know happiness if we didn't know sadness, and it's that yin and yang, and that balance of life. And I love hearing about your sacred travel and doing it alone. And I think you're so brave to do that.
Thank you.
So Susan, back to you with this same question. What does it mean to you to be a sacred rebel?
I think for me, it really means that there's a piece of you, rebel, can be a word that's loaded with all kinds of, definitions. But when you actually look it up, I'm big on that these days. Like, people use words, I'm like, that's not the right way to use that word. And even sacred, I'm like, so I look up what the definitions mean, and then I'm like, okay, let's really play with those words and see what they've morphed into. But what do they really mean to me? And honestly, I think it means just honoring, to Sonia's point, like honoring that piece of you that says, no, that does not feel right for me. I'm not connected to that, but I'm connected to this. And maybe not all of it is going to go right. In my chapter, like some of my decisions, the second part of it is like, I was disrespecting someone else's property, and there was a price to pay for that, but I could own that piece of it. and go, that rebel got me into a little bit of trouble, but the other rebel part of me said, here's how I'm going to fix it, you know, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it the best way I can. And I'm going to learn from all of that. So I think it's to just honor that piece of you. Your rebel deserves attention, and it deserves recognition, and it is connected to something that is in your highest and greatest good. It may not always look that way. It may be not a smooth transition. It may be bumpy, but to embrace that piece of me that pushes back when I'm expected to conform or act a certain way.
You're making me think about the sacred part of Sacred Rebel. It's like a rebel with awareness. Like the rebel, you know, they can watch themselves in their rebelness, and they can learn, like you said, learn from it. I mean, that's everything. Yeah.
But not to shame myself for it. They're my choices, you know, stand with what I have agency in, what I did and I had control over. And then also recognize I didn't have control over those other things. So, you know, yeah.
All right, Krista, how would you answer this? What does it mean to you to be a sacred rebel? Oh, hang on, Krista. Let's unmute you, girl.
I feel like it's a warrior going to battle, and you're having to heal from those wounds and to learn on what you experienced and what you did and did not do, or what you were not allowed to do, and you did it anyways because you didn't want to listen to your parents or a partner. And after you experience that and the consequence, you really just understand why you did it, and you were listening to your inner self and learning about what it made you who you are today and how you could learn and heal from it. And honestly, being a sacred rebel is a beautiful thing. And you know, we think at those times in our life that, oh, we're on the thrill, we're on that adrenaline rush of not listening. And then now, as an older adult looking back, I'm glad I made those decisions, because it has made me learn so much about what I did and did not do right. And as I loved how you said it, Sonia and Susan, like, just the regret that we had is a thing that we needed to experience. And so it's a warrior in my eyes.
I love that. All right, for all of you here, this next question, I'm going to start with you, Susan, okay? So many, if not most, of the authors in this book practice shamanic healing. And I think all of you take a holistic approach, no matter what you practice, to healing and life. So when it comes to this journey that we're on, why holistic? Why is that important?
Because not every modality resonates with everyone. So they can't always be open to what someone else might be saying to them, right? So just a small example of like breath work. Most of us do breath work in an environment where there's really loud music playing, and it's designed to get us out of our conscious mind, our monkey mind, and to help us like not think. That's why the language, if there's any language in it, it's not a language where we're identifying with, because the idea is to just, you know, sink in. I've come to realize that that doesn't work for everybody. Some people cannot get to a state of getting out of their mind with that kind of music. So that's just one example of how even a breath as a tool doesn't necessarily work the same way for everyone. And so I think it's important to have a holistic approach, because there's so many modalities that can be accessed to us that help us identify how we can best heal ourselves. So you have to be open to the various different ways, and to be able to say, yeah, no, that one doesn't feel right to me, but that I'm interested in. Let me give that a try. So I think it's really important to keep all your avenues open. It's no different than if you're really trying to heal yourself with, you know, mainstream medicines or approaches to therapy. You know, you might go to a therapist where you're like, no, this doesn't resonate. I've got to find somebody I feel more comfortable with, and that I can, and it's okay to have another approach. Or so I think it's just important to come from all different angles to figure out what is going to best help you connect with that shaman in you, because we all have that inner healer. If we don't connect to that little piece of it, that we know we can heal ourselves with support from others, with different tools and modalities, whatever one speaks to you, to get to that point where you understand you do have the power to heal what's hurt and to address those wounds, and you won't be annihilated.
I love that you started this question with that answer, because honestly, you guys, one of the missions of the books that we publish in collaboration with many authors is having all your voices, your important, unique takes on what we're talking about in the book, right? And so to have all of those different kinds of ways to express it, each one of you did it so brilliantly. So now is also a really great time to say thank you to the three of you for, not just stepping up to say yes to this, but stepping up to the challenge I was giving you to share that vulnerable story and then share your medicine in the unique way that you do. And that's what these books are going to be for people, is lots of different ideas. Maybe one thing doesn't work. And for sure, one thing doesn't work for everyone, just like Susan said. And also, one thing doesn't work for the same person every single time either. So to have a toolkit full of options is a super, super powerful, great thing. And that's what we hope to give you guys with Shaman Heart Sacred Rebel. Krista, what about you? Why holistic? Why is that important?
Because, I've been on the medication, and that is to me a Band-Aid. I don't want to feel numbed. I don't want to cover up my problems and my trauma. I want to feel it. I want to go in it. I want to express it. I want to let it out. Whether it's, like Susan said, breath work, because our subconscious actually comes out. Trauma is stored in the body. And a lot of the time people don't realize that. They think, oh, well, I just need to talk about it. Well, not necessarily. You need to let it out, scream, cry, vomit, whatever you need to do to let the trauma in your body out. And there's so many different ways, and it honestly is the best feeling way holistically, because you're not under an influence or just trying to pretend like it didn't happen. And people, I feel like, get a better understanding and heal better when they're able to express it in a way where anyone can do it, whether it's, self-care or making sure that your vibration is balanced with a sound bath or breathing exercises like breath work, or, as simple as just bonding with someone who can relate with you, having that one-on-one connection. There's just so many ways that you can do on an everyday basis and not feel like you're just covering it up with a Band-Aid.
Mm-hmm.
I love that answer also. There's so many ways to think about this. I love listening to you all talk about it. Sonia, what would you say to why holistic? Why is it important?
Well, I think I'm kind of piggybacking on what Krista just said about medication doesn't work well, or completely work. And to me, we have to address the whole human. So holistic means my whole human, my body, my mind, my soul, my energy, mind, body, spirit. Don't just address one and ignore the others. We need to address all of them, which is, I think, what we're doing. Is I don't discount medication for somebody, but it needs to maybe look at what's beneath the issue that you would need medication for, and focus on healing in many, many different ways. And I certainly have practiced that quite a bit with the shamanic path that I've been on for about 10 years now. So, yeah. So
one other way I learned to think about holistic approaches to healing was in the myofascial world, when we would look at the body, just the body piece for a minute, and we would look at that body as a head to toe, three-dimensional system. And so in my world, we did myofascial release, and the fascia, the connective tissue on the inside of you is three-dimensional and head to toe. And if you approached a body as one part, you're going to miss the picture unless you go to the entire system and figure out, you know, how the connections make a difference. And so that's another way to think about holistic. You know, when we go to our doctors and we have back pain and they just treat the one body part rather than looking at our entire system to address pain. So I love to add that one sometimes, just with my physical therapy perspective and my physical body perspective. But as one of you said earlier, your body holds the trauma, so your tissue holds an energy from a mental emotional piece as well. Mental emotional pieces are physical, y'all. It's all together. And so if we don't address it like that, we will always miss a big part of the picture. So I think that's super duper important. All right, you guys. So I've got one last question for all of you. Krista, I'm going to go to you first. You know, you are all amazing guides and facilitators. And I think authentic healers, they don't like to call themselves healers. They don't like to say they fix people, because we don't fix people. We empower them to connect to their own inner wisdom and their own healer, right? You all do that. And I see your nods, you know. So Krista, what's the most important thing to you about connecting to that inner wisdom? What can you share with our viewers today that you think will help them do that?
I love this saying that, you know, life is not hurting you, it's for you. And like, it's not happening to you, it's happening for you. And, you know, really think about that, because in life, we tend to always think that, well, why is this happening to me? Or why is that happening? And we have this, like, you know, this guilt or this shame. And what it truly is our inner self telling us what is going on. What is it that we need to approach and look into and deep dive and really understand, why are we feeling this type of way, or why are we having this type of reaction, or why are we triggered that way? And to really go deep and understand who you are and where those roots are coming from. Because when you have that understanding and you're able to share your story like we're all doing, it will change lives. And that is something that I'm not only living my best authentic self, but I really feel like I'm actually who I am today than I've ever been in my life. And that is something that we struggle, and we want to hide behind that rock thinking that that's going to get us in a better place. But in reality, we're hurting ourselves than helping ourselves. And so just really try to understand what is going on internally to help others externally.
I love that. I love what a cool thing to say. I am more of my true self today than I ever have been in my life, right? I think that through this path that we signed up for, that's the prize. We get that prize, right? Like we get that treasure of feeling that way. So thanks for that, Krista. Sonia, how about you? What do you want to add to this? Like, how do we connect? How can you help people connect at that next level?
I think possibly the best way I can connect is by leading by example. So I don't like to present any modality psychotherapeutically until I've tried it out and seen that it's worked for me. If it works for me, then maybe it'll work for you. And I in many ways feel like I am stepping more and more into accepting my role as healer, and starting with myself. And I love what you said, Krista, about being more and more authentically yourself. I posted something on Facebook last week that never in a million years I would have done. But I've wonderful leaders and example people doing examples of being their authentic self. And so I thought I'd give it a try on a more public level than I've ever done before. And now I need to do a follow-up video about how the other side is of that challenging last week is the joy that here I have this week. So I try to lead by example, let people know that, hey, I've experienced this before. Here are some ideas that might be beneficial to you. Give it a shot.
Well, the change in the world starts right here, right? So that, I think that's a perfect thing. All right, Susan. I know it's hard to go last on this one, right? But I want you to add to this. Like, what do you want people to know about making that connection to their own inner wisdom and healer?
I think, the idea that became really clear to me about 10 years ago when I started on the shamanic path was that I'm always looking for somebody to be my perfect person. Like, oh, I meet this person, I'm really connected to them. Man or woman, doesn't mean it matter. I'm not talking about sexual. I'm just talking like, they seem to have it together. They're really, oh, they're so awesome. And then they're like, no, they're probably not. They're probably struggling too, and it's that whole piece of recognizing that when I see something in someone else that I really admire, like, how can I duplicate that in my own way? And what is it about them that I admire, that I look up to? And how would I make that mine? Not to be like them, because I'm not them, but to honor that I have my own gifts to the world. I have my own medicines for myself. And that, when I admire something in someone, to drill that down to, is it something I would like to be more like? I would like to, make it my own and shine in that way. Or but I wanted to kind of go back to when you started and Krista was talking. I think it is so important to just witness people, and to show, to Sonia's point too, when you're leading by example, to just, when people are talking, whether they're being visceral about something or they're very hurt or they're just to witness them and listen and to ask questions that invites more narrative in. Tell me more about that. Tell me is actually a command, but it invites narrative in, and it lets people understand that you heard them, or you want to hear more about what they have to say, and not to offer advice, not to, and unless, the timing is right, and say, like we learned to say, are you open to feedback? But to say to somebody, there's something you said that reminded me of a situation I had, or a similar situation another client I worked with had. Are you open to hearing that? And allowing people to say, no, I just want to talk. And I think modeling that, to Sonia's point, just listening, just witnessing, it really is the salve for people, regardless of what they're going through. And then that helps me not feel like I have to fix somebody else's problem, or that I'm somehow responsible because they came to me or they're trusting me, that I have to have the answer. I support them as they dig through and find their own answers, and hold that space for them.
Yes,
And
beautiful.
Piggybacking on what you just said, I keep thinking about the term unconditional positive regard.
Mm-hmm. That's what it is. It's social work 101, right?
Yeah. And to me, there is no difference between unconditional positive regard and the love that I develop for the people that I get the opportunity to work with.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Which makes you all such special, amazing human beings. I love this so much. Susan, Sonia, Krista, thank you so much for what you do in the world. And thank you for being here today to share it with everyone. Thanks, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Nice to see everybody.
So you guys, to our viewers today, remember, join us for our book launch party. It's going to be coming up June 2nd at 10 a.m. Eastern. We're going to gather with all of the Sacred Rebel authors, And we'll be doing some giveaways that day and some other fun stuff. You're going to find the invite on the Brave Healer Productions Facebook page. I've got that linked up down below. But maybe you heard something today from one of these authors that, I don't know, gave you the goosebumps, that you resonated with. This is so much more than a book, y'all. So slide down into the show notes where you're going to find where you can connect with the three of these authors, because we are all so generously there for you all to take that next step, right? So go find out all of the awesomeness that they're up to. Ask the questions, get yourself supported. We want to make sure that you know that that is available. It's important to be able to connect with these powerful, powerful people. And if you happen to be listening to this interview after that June 2nd date, well, that means you can hop over to Amazon and grab your copy of Shaman Heart Sacred Rebel. Lastly today, y'all,
Woo-hoo.
yes, woohoo to that. Everyone remember, your words will change the world when you're brave enough to share them. So it's time to be brave. See you next time, everyone. Bye, ladies.
Bye.